Welcome to Silicon Valley Asian Business Talk.
Hello, everyone. This is Roger Chen from University of San Francisco, and we are conducting this interview sponsored by University of San Francisco Center for Asia Pacific Studies, short for CAPS. And our guest today is Li Fang, and we want to thank you, Li, for kind of joining our program to share your wisdom, your insights on adopting the enterprise AI system in your company. Please briefly introduce yourself and also your company.
Great. Thank you, Roger. Hi, everyone. My name is Li Fan. I'm currently Chief Technology and AI Officer for Circle Internet Group. For those who don't know, Circle is a global financial technology company building economic operating systems for the internet. We're creating a neutral programmable layer for digital dollars and enable money to move with the same speed, transparency, and security as the information and data to do today. Now, in my role as a technology officer, I manage all the engineers, data scientists, and the tech ops in the company and build the product and the services. My another role as an AI officer, I set up the company's AI strategy, and I also lead a small AI team to execute and enable everyone in the company, whether tech or non-tech.
Thank you. Actually, that's such a great background, and we are really looking forward to kind of discuss your experience.
Discussion topic: Enterprise AI context change and vendor access challenges. Silicon Valley Asian Business Talk.
Let's kind of look at the next very big questions, because you talked about many times the AI agent need to or depend upon the context knowledge. Context knowledge could be the regulations, the company's history documents, the policy document, the past cases. But of course, we understand the quality. First of all, the availability of such documents or knowledge, the quality of those knowledge is very crucial. Could you elaborate, did you encounter this context knowledge issue, and how do you kind of resolve those issues? In other words, maybe give the audience some kind of advice how to manage the context, how to improve the context so the AI agent can do a good job.
Yeah, very good question, and it's a very difficult question. I won't say I totally solve it. We are in the middle of it, but I can totally appreciate the difficulty. I give you an example. We are, I call ourselves a mid-sized enterprise company. We're a technology company by nature, but we are also in the financial world that, traditionally there's a lot of regulated and sensitive data around. I happen to manage the IT department, so I have a very clear view how many vendors we work with. We have close to 100 vendors. There's a lot of big vendors you can think of: Workday, Salesforce, HubSpot, Oracle, and whatever. There's also a long tail of small vendors each department to utilize to help their work. Now, when you talk about the context and think about you have to pull in all those vendors' data, and each API and whatever access control are different. So it's a tremendous work. But if you don't really get, say, Salesforce or Oracle data in, the functions cannot really have the right context, right?
Yeah.
So in theory, they all doable. It's just a lot of engineer work. And also what's more complicated is because we, in our industry, we need to make sure data leakage is very tightly controlled. We need to know who's using data, who's reading, who's writing, and what if and regulator would want to see the trace, things like that. So
yeah.
When I actually have an AI offsite 2 weeks ago, a lot of time we actually spent when we're pulling those vendors, what kind of access control we need to respect. And of course, Oracle, Salesforce, they have a pretty robust support. For smaller vendors, they don't even know how to deal with AI agent. If I design an agent and I want to access a random vendor's data, I don't even know the vendor can take like whatever ID, a fake ID. It's not a user. What can they do? So things like that, we have to decide. So I think the solution, not really a solution, at least approach is we do have a small team, and we're going to design for this year. The top priority project for AI team is to design a data fabric. And I told the team, we are not going to cover 100 vendors, but instead we have a list of a priority. Those are 20, 30 vendors most of our functions really rely on. So make sure we support those vendors. We understand their API. We know how to pull in their data with the right control and monitor, and provide a unified AI access layer, data access layer, so that different functions can utilize that AI. And we will control who can read, who can write. It's not an easy project. We just started. And then meanwhile, for each function, they do have a smaller scale of agent running just to utilize their data, right? So that is more controlled. When I say build a data fabric, is the attempt to integrate all the data together so that we, as let's say CEO executive, we can read all the data without worry about security. So that's a next step we are working on, but it's a real problem. It's actually, there's no easy solution. You just have to decide how you're going to tackle it.
That's a great question. So that also kind of leads to the other questions called the interoperability of different data systems. So if I understand you correctly, you basically say, first, in your vendor example, you kind of prioritize the vendors, focusing on the top, let's say, most important 30 or 40, whatever the number. Then make sure you have access to these vendors, like the APIs, and also which another very important thing is who have access, like access control, right? And also make sure the other side knows, allows you to extract the data, things like that.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of leads to a very interesting question about the enterprise AI. So it is no longer a one company game. It is you have to work with that partners. If your partner's not ready, you're kind of stuck with that kind of a situation.
Yes, I do think so. So honestly speaking, it is, I don't know, it's a good or
Kind of
bad, but
ecosystem issue.
in generally, that leads us to favor big, more mature vendors, right? For example, at least half of our data already live in the Google universe, right? So the Google Doc or Gmail or something that makes Google a much more attractive vendor, generally speaking, because anyway, a lot of data is already there, right? If you have a new vendor, let's say maybe your model is more powerful, but then consider I have to integrate all the different data sources. That's something I have to consider. Now, not because I'm biased, but those are the practical considerations. But fortunately, of course, we have other vendors like, say, Microsoft or OpenAI also work very closely with us. So good things, we still have choices. But I will say one of the trends is, unfortunately, people like us will kind of prefer more mature vendors for the data reason.
Kind of gravitated to the incumbents, the well-established platform.
Yeah, so I don't know, but we obviously were very open all the startups. But when startups talk to me, the first question I always have is, how do you monitor, control data access? Do you have an on-prem solution? Again, it's possible that's because we are a fintech. Maybe some other industry may not be care that much, but for us, this is a major concern.
No, I think this is not uncommon, but it's kind of interesting. I also see an opportunity for new startup companies to help startup companies to be ready to kind of work with their customers, large customers like you guys, who have a very high demand on the data security, data control, those kind of things. Before I kind of move on to the next question, do you also run into kind of other issues about the historical documents of the company, the policy documents, because the way it was written, the way it was kind of illustrated in the past document does not fit with the AI agent requirements, and you have to rework on those documents?
Oh yeah, totally. I think that some of the rules doesn't apply to frankly speaking, AI age at all. Now,
Oh,
again, I think I feel very lucky is from day one. There's two leaders I work very closely. One is the head of a talent because it's a big cultural shift. The other is our chief risk officer who also manages security and privacy, right? And he's the one who from day one, we have regular meetings say, okay, this is a rule that we know we should enforce, but obviously those rules are not applying AI. And he has a very strong, capable leaders work with my AI team to devise the policy, and he and I will review together and approve the new policy because we have to look forward.
yeah, they want to learn as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very good point. The other question I think you already touched upon about how to integrate with the external vendor database, so that all the functional area can have secure access, easy access. But do you have the situation where the company's internal IT system, internal database, originally it was siloed, for example, but now because of AI agent, because this is something I learned. One of the key benefit for take advantage of the AI system is to more integrate it rather than silo. But traditional systems tend to be silo. And so do you face that kind of a situation? Then how do you address those kind of situations, make them less silo and more integrated?
So yes, but I think the silo part is mostly outside of vendors. The
Oh,
internal database, like built, I think it's in my situation, it's easier because I manage all the engineers. It's all built
oh,
by
I
my
see.
team, so it doesn't matter. If I say you need to integrate, that they will integrate. So it's
Oh,
more of
okay.
a saying, okay, we need to do. I think the harder part is by third-party vendors. So then and also some of the those vendor database are owned by other functions. So we need to talk to the other function to make sure we are on the same page. I do think in general, everyone's on the same page. And I think with all the education, everyone knows the context and data is important. Otherwise, AI will not function well. It's a matter of priority for that function, whether they gonna do it immediately or it's like 1 month later, this kind of thing. Yeah.
Actually, maybe this is kind of a new question I had. Do you encounter some kind of challenges when you work with external kind of partners or suppliers or vendors to kind of make their data open, more secure for you to access? Do you encounter any kind of issues or lessons, maybe which I think could be very, very valuable lesson when company approach these external partner for that exact same purpose?
Yeah, I don't think it's more of open or not open. It's more of a feature support. I give you
Hmm.
an example. I think the common lack of a feature support is one, how do you recognize it's an AI agent, not a user, right?
Oh.
Most of a traditional database, they give you a access control, whatever tuning is about this user can this do that and that. But what if this is an AI agent? Right. So now
Hmm.
we can work around and say it's a fake user or something, but then I have to change Workday to make sure it's because a lot of access control, let's say it's connected with Workday. If you're a manager, you can do this. If you're not, and whatever.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
if it's a
yeah.
fake AI agent, what are you gonna do? So I think that is one question. The other question, I will say the other question is certain features, right? So in the traditional way, there's a certain features that can you allow this, and one feature, for example, is can you allow monitor per user or because there's some small vendors give you only the organization level or access log or access monitor. They don't really have a very detailed monitor or logging system for each one of them. But for us, it's important because the security team need to know when things happen, they need to exactly pinpoint where. And some of the vendors just they don't support. So it's less
Yeah.
about they are not willing, they just don't have that feature. So we started a cursor early, for example. Even cursor at the beginning, they don't have monitor. And like, I cannot use you if you don't give me
Yeah,
the
yeah.
monitor because I really need to know which engineer use cursor in what way. So I think that all those are like we are learning along the way. Yeah.
So in other words, actually, you have to kind of get the permission, or because I can imagine the vendors, they also have the priority issues, whether they kind of change their kind of engineer work to accommodate your requirement, because for them it's also resource allocation issues.
Yes,
So
exactly. So I understand them. Like I understand, like we may, as I said, even OpenAI in early days, we have to keep asking, can you provide this feature, that feature? And I also understand they have way too many other enterprise feature to support. So yeah.
So in other words, actually, if the vendor is not willing to change right now, in other words, you cannot fully take advantage of AI systems.
Well, I think again, those are the judgment you start to like have to insert. Sometimes if they promise they're gonna do within a month, I will let them go. And meanwhile, our internal engineer, for example, hack some way, and so
hack
hack some way. For example, if like a cursor don't have the monitor, we put an internal proxy, interject the traffic, so we do our own logging. It's not ideal because it's inefficient, but that's a bridge. So we don't sacrifice security, but still let engineers start to use cursor early on. Yeah.
So I understand the struggle, the delicate balance.
Thank you for watching.